is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries live with Tanya E. I'm glad I get the chance to see you again and hoping that you listen to this morning's episode because if any part of your life is like mine was and you are resetting again, you know you need a little bit of support. Not quite sure how to do this and you're tired. Well, this new season, season 4, we are here. I am sharing more about how we can go through the reset because we are resetters. And as we walk through this journey of getting greater insight about what to do, I'll give you some touch points. So there's a few things I want to share because I went through a couple of elements in this morning's episode. Go back and do that. Because if you're experiencing the changes that I've gone through, yeah, you want to do things a little bit different. And this is how you can support yourself through the journey. One of the major things that I shared this morning is getting to know who you are. Because when you're ready to transform your life, it is time to make some other adjustments. And it starts with knowing who you are at the core of your being. Life puts us in a position where we sometimes pour out so much of us that we forget who we are. We lose elements of ourselves along the way, trying to help everybody else around us. It's because you're heart-centered. Your soul is desiring to support because you're built that way. Everything in you is designed to be a help to someone else. And for those people that are genuine about receiving your support, they'll recognize it and turn around and pour back into your cup. But unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of people just take, and it's not a clear thought anymore. There was a time that you used to consider those around you, but only those that have a heart-centered element in their being to serve. Remember that. So when you have given all that you can give longer than you should have, you are depleted. And that breaking in your soul makes you decide, I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want you there. I don't want you there because there's a way to get through that process. I shared that embracing the necessity of resetting, you got to know that you can reset from what you're walking through. It's part of growing up. I talked about sharing and elements, about pouring back into yourself because you pour in everybody else. So how do we pour back into ourselves? Well, first, you got to remember what you like. We are so giving, we sort of take on the likes of those around us. I remember in aftermath of my divorce, and I had that first moment without my kids because I was a hot mess, y'all. I had not yet figured out how to reset. So I sent my babies off to go be with my mom. And while I was in that two-bedroom apartment trying to figure me out, what was my next step? What was I going to do next? How was I going to move? I didn't know. I couldn't even remember something that I like to do on my own. I had spent the last 11 years being mom, being wife. So I created all of the activities around them. What were their favorites? What would be exciting for them? What could I create that would bring us together? All of my effort, all of my energy, all of my planning, because my heart-centered soul wanted to make certain that they were okay. And a lot of those instances that I was creating activities to support everyone around me, I lost me. Are you that type of person? Where you plan things for everybody else, and in the midst of all of that, you don't plan things for what you enjoy. And after year after year after year after year of doing that thing, you don't even remember what you truly like to do on your own. Or maybe I shared in this morning's episode that I'm a village baby. I was raised by a wonderful group of people, my neighbors or family, friends, and loved ones. As a result of being a village baby, you sort of get acclimated to other people's activities because you're brought into their different things until you decide what you really want on your own. I had to go back and remember and start reinventing some things. One website that I now truly enjoy because it was a saving grace to me then, just to explore new things without the hefty budget. Because if you have gone through the financial chaos that I went in the aftermath of my divorce, your money is really tight and you're not quite sure what you're going to do. So Groupon.com, they are not a sponsor. I just happen to like them. I would go to Groupon.com and select various events, different activities. It gave me two things. One, a little bit of savings in my money. Two, it gave me an opportunity to try new experiences with different people. I got the chance to explore. And if I found a task I didn't like, I didn't know those people. I could just leave and go get a different activity somewhere else. Sometimes we don't pick new things when we're with people that we know because really don't want to look like we don't know it. We're not familiar. We have a thing inside of us that we don't want to venture too far in the unknowns. But here's the thing, going into the unknowns is part of a reset that will support you. So embrace resetting because you've already reset from several things in your past already, and you will reset again. Here's another thing that I shared, being self aware, remembering who you are. For some of us, those reset moments are trying to at least pick one thing to do. That group activity, I just began basics. What's my favorite color? What's my favorite flower? There were painting sessions that were going on. I got the chance just to explore the different colors. And when you go to those websites that they have I like Muse Paint. I've done them recently. So Muse Painter has a selection of different paintings that they offer at various times. And you select the painting that you want to paint, and then you schedule the time period that they're going to do that painting. Scrolling through that gives you an idea of what you like. Actually doing the painting really seals in your soul what you truly enjoy. Now, here's a low budget way of finding your favorite color if you don't have the money. Because for a while, I couldn't do those paint shops. I didn't have the money to do that. That was still too expensive. I am a Home Depot type of girl. They are not a sponsor this either. I just happen to go and like various things that they offer because a part of my soul back in the day, and you learn a little bit more. My grandmother and my godfather are what people call a weekend warrior now. But that's not what they were called back then. And when you are a child of entrepreneurs, you do what your family does. And they renovated houses. So I learned to do all kinds of things with renovating houses and going back and forth to Home Depots. For me back in the day, it was heckin' just. Anyway, if you don't have money and you're trying to figure out your favorite color, go to the paint location inside of Home Depot, Lowe's, or wherever you have those paint selections. You can pick those little cards and you have two or three different color options on some of them. That way you can get an idea. If your eyes are drawn to a certain color, pick it. And if you want to test it out, you can get those small sample cans. Those small cans give you an opportunity to create an accent wall, a small section of your own if you want to just put a splash. Because here's something else that happened to me. While my heart-centered soul was busy making certain that my home was comfortable for my ex-husband and my kids, there was nothing in that home that was decorated for Tanya. If you walked into my house back in the day, you would not even know what my favorite color was, what my favorite flower was, anything that was really significant to me because I didn't display it. That house was set up to support them. So when I moved into my very first home after my divorce, I had a meltdown in the middle of the floor because I didn't know what to paint the walls. I didn't really know what curtains I wanted to buy. I didn't know how I wanted to accent or decorate because I had never really done it. When I was married, my mother-in-law came over. Her and her sisters did what they did to the house. And I didn't mind. I didn't care because growing up in an environment that I grew up, I didn't have a particular preference for any of those household things. But when you find yourself having to do basics, oh, I struggled. And it should not have been that big a struggle. But if you are walking into a space where you are resetting from an emotional breakdown, it breaks you down into different categories and you try to figure out how do I start? And you'll find that breakdown happening in recesses of your soul that you didn't even know was broken. Making a decision to have to choose something as simple as a paint color left me bawling on the floor. I had to reset from that. And part of the reset was this third thing I was sharing. You have a community. Get yourself a community of supporters around you. And as a village baby, I called in my village. A girlfriend of mine came over when I purchased my new home, and she sat with me and was like, okay, let's start with just some basics. She had a green thumb of her own, and she was also a semi Miss Vila moment. She shared with me a couple of different things, and I had already gone and tried to reset myself a little bit. So I had a couple of paint swabs that I wanted to try to figure out. And then it dawned on me, I like those colors, but I didn't want them on my walls. But I did find one thing. Sometimes going back into your childhood self. You see, when you were little, you didn't have a problem deciding what you liked or what you didn't. And even if you didn't choose something immediately because you were trying to figure it out from everybody else, you made a choice because you knew. In the midst of your soul, you knew you could reset again. You can choose a new color if you felt like 5 minutes from now. You see, when we're little, we can do that and we are okay with that. But when we get older, somewhere, somebody told us if we made a choice, we had to stick with it. No, you still get to choose again. You still get the chance to start over and reset once again. Because in the midst of who you are, you recognize that change is the only constant. And since it's the only constant that exists, you will have to constantly be a resetter. And you are a resetter in your soul, and you will be okay. You just got to remember who you are at the core of your being. So this morning I shared those elements. Take a time that you need to embrace resetting, become self-aware, and find yourself a village. If you do those three things, that covers the basis of what I shared this morning. But I encourage you, if you did not listen to this morning's episode, go back because I shared a little bit more about how you fill your cup and pour from the saucer of life. If that's not resonating with you, then you didn't listen. And I want you to go back and listen. In the meantime, if anything that I've shared today has resonated in your soul or someone came to mind while I was sharing this information, I want you to comment below because we can extend this conversation. And I encourage you to join me live for the discussion. There's a link that I typically share inside of the podcast episodes in the comment section. You can click that link and you can join me live. We can have an extended discussion about what's going on with you. We can pivot the conversation to where you need it to be. But there's always something that I intend to ensure that you have to support you on the journey. And today's journey is about resetting. Reset who you are. Know that you can do this and it will be okay. And if there's anything that I'm working with to support you in getting your personal growth, I shared earlier in this episode that I'm going to start pouring out a little bit more of some of the sessions that I typically teach here and show. I'm going to do some flash training sessions. In those training sessions, I invite you so that you can get an expansion on some of the tools that I share. Because lots of times we're walking into the spaces that we're in and we don't know how to walk through it because we're lacking some of the tools. Well, we're going to start walking through that in this season. I'm expanding it more because I've been teaching it behind the scenes. Well, you all are going to get an opportunity to get a front row seat on some of the things that I teach, share, and show because I needed it at one point. I didn't always have the opportunity to find a space like this to support me on the journey. But I want to be that space for you and join you on the journey. And if you know anybody that wants it, remember, comment, subscribe. And if you want more support, go to my website, TanyaEhood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose. And I want you to do the same.